be a little more excited than that. Hi, guys. There we go. Okay. My name is Dante now. I have been married for an entire 11 days, so very excited. And I'm just here to talk a little bit tonight about my vocation, my call to marriage, and kind of how that worked out for me. So I was just like all of you. I was actually a little different. I was homeschooled until I was in 8th grade. And then I went to Dowling, and then I went to St. Ambrose University over in Davenport, Iowa, which some of you might be familiar with. And from a very young age, I always thought I was going to get married. Because how many of you have seen a Disney movie? Yeah, okay. So there's pretty much a wedding in every Disney movie. And I like dresses, and I liked cute guys, so I thought, I'm probably going to get married. And I was the oldest of 4, and so whenever my mom would have another baby, I would get re-excited to get married and start a family, and often made my younger siblings, one of whom is here, play my children. But obviously as you grow up and you get into high school especially, you start to realize that relationships are a little bit harder than they seem in the movies. And of course we all want one, especially girls in high school. Really want to have someone who makes them feel special, makes them feel better. And that kind of relates to a longing in our hearts for Christ. And that's what I came to understand probably into college. Kind of what Ben is talking about with God needing to be at the center of your life is absolutely true. Because, in case you didn't know, one person, no matter how wonderful they are, and I think my new husband's pretty wonderful, they are not going to complete you, and they cannot make you who you need to be. The only person who can do that is God, and that was something I resisted a lot when I was younger. I dated in high school, and it was not the best decision for me, basically because I hadn't grasped that concept, but because the guy was not looking out for my best interests either. And I did the same thing when I got into college. And I remember after a heartbreak in college, I was very upset, and I somehow ended up at the chapel on campus. And I was sitting there just in the church like, I don't know why I'm here, I don't know why it can't just work out for me. And then I remember thinking, I don't want to go through this over and over and over again. So I decided maybe I needed a break from all of that. So I decided no more dating. I'm just going to work on myself. And I started going to daily mass because I had a summer off from school. And so they had daily mass in the morning. And I got this friend to go with me, and she's like, really, we're going to get up every day and go? I was like, yeah, let's just try it. Well, first we went every day, and then it was more like 2 or 3 times a week because we like to sleep. But I used to sit in church and say, God, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm not going to leave until I find out. And the cool thing is that I never have left. I'm still a part of the church, and I've been able to develop a relationship with God where He pulled me closer to Him so that I could prepare myself to be with someone else. So some of the ways I did that is I started to choose my friends really wisely. And that doesn't mean that you can't be open to friendships and open to the people in your life, but choose people who are going to make you better, who are also working on their relationship with Christ. I started to surround myself with people like that. And a girl from high school that I had grown up with, she went to a military school in New York. And so I'd been working on myself, and this had been about a year, and she calls and she says, I met the guy for you. I met your husband. And I hung up on her. I was like, nope, I'm done with that. I'm not ready. And she called back. She goes, no, really, I really want you to talk to this guy. And so after a lot of coaxing on her end, apparently he wasn't real keen on the idea either, because apparently guys don't like to call random girls up halfway across the country. Is that true? I guess. So his name was Chris, and he eventually did decide to call, and just to try and get to know me. And that actually turned into a lot of Skyping and a lot of phone calls. eventually we decided, we really wanted to meet each other. So he ended up coming back to Des Moines with my friend Jenna to meet me. And that was the most nerve-wracking day of my life because I knew a lot about him. And he was this really fantastic guy. He was, I'd heard that he was part of the Catholic community at his school, and he was running a purity group, and I'm like, wow, how am I going to compete with that? And when he came to town, he was just this normal, humble guy, and we really hit it off. So we decided that we wanted to start dating, and pretty much off the bat talked about how we wanted that to be, we wanted it to be more of a courtship, and by courtship I mean that you're dating with more of a purpose. So sometimes when you're dating in high school, you're just getting to know someone, and then that can happen in college as well. But we really wanted to pursue whether we were going to be right to be married. And one reason we did that was because when you're long distance, we've never been any closer than about 1,500 miles, and we're still not. You kind of have to decide what is most important to you and whether someone's going to be right for you, so that you're not just wasting your time, but putting your heart into something that's going to be extremely stressful and not in the end have a result for you. So a few weeks into our relationship, I got an email from Chris, because it was hard to talk. He was in military school, basically outlining what he wanted in a relationship. And he told me that he wanted to put God at the center. He wanted us to both move toward God in the hope that we would end up moving toward each other. And I kind of cried at this point when I saw that note, because I'd never had anybody say that to me. And to be honest, was a little scared that I wouldn't be able to hold up my end of the deal. Well, how am I supposed to, I can move toward God, but I really like you, and how does that work? And, what I learned through that process is that everybody wants us, to be our best version of ourselves. And, we want to, be saints, like Ben said, but it starts with your everyday life and with your little things. And so I started looking to St.Theresa of Lisieux. Have any of you heard of her? She's a patron of this church. She talked about the little way, which in her mind was taking the tiny little things you do in life and making a purposeful decision to choose the good. So it may start with, for me, one of the things was, I'm going to work on being cleaner so that my roommate's less crazed because she's a neat freak. And maybe I'm going to stop into the chapel on my lunch break instead of staying at lunch the full hour to quiet my heart a little bit and think about, what was important. Spend a little time with God. And I found that really helpful, because then the pressure was off to be this perfect person, to be something that I needed to grow towards. And so after we had worked through those things together, we decided to incorporate a few little things together. And one of the things we did is we started saying a decade of the Rosary at night together, and the prayer of St. Francis, which talks about giving of yourself without expecting anything back. And I think that was a really good tone for our relationship, because he's in the military, and so I don't always get to come first. I actually don't come first at this moment. He left 3 days after our wedding to be gone for a month in training. And sometimes he needs to put me first, even though he's tired and he's had long days, and make sure he calls, and eventually make sure he's awake long enough to talk to me at night. So we started the prayer thing, and we made a point to write letters. And I really liked that because we were more purposeful about what we told each other. And so we talked a lot about, what God was going to mean in our lives, and what we had done in the past that didn't lead us toward God, and how we could help each other to avoid those things. And we even talked about past relationships, which is really tough to talk about with the person that you love. But we did so because we wanted to know the whole person and be able to work through things together. And so, after about a year of dating and and him being gone for various trainings and me still in school in Iowa, he proposed and I planned a wedding all this past year. And I thought that it was going to be easier to be engaged because, we were working toward marriage, and it got twice as hard. Because you kind of get past the more Disney fairy tale part of meeting and the falling in love. And I'm, of course, as excited about it as I was. I'm more excited about our relationship now than I was when we met. But it changes into how are you going to incorporate, that amazing, powerful, love feeling and, putting your best foot forward to God and taking that through your whole life. Because how many of you have said, I'm going to do something, I'm going to work out 3 times a week, or I'm going to, go on a diet, or I'm going to, pray every day, and after about a week, what happens? You quit. So, through my engagement, I learned that it's not going to always be your optimal day. Sometimes I don't get the prayers in, and I have to come back to it the next day. And sometimes Chris and I will argue, and we have to figure out, how to work through those things and not hold grudges. And so I think it's important as you guys move on into your confirmation and high school and college to remember that you don't have to figure it all out today, but make a purposeful decision once a day, once every other day, to move a little bit closer to Christ, whether that's reading the Bible, going to Mass, the things that Ben talked about that are so crucial to our faith. Choose something that you think can make you this much better in the little ways. And that's what I've tried to do. And I'll have to get back to you on how married life is because I haven't really done that part yet. So that's my vocation story.